Folks, we're going to get started. Baltimore City Council Ways and Means Committee, we're here for Council Bill 23-0345, Salary City Solicitor. I'm Mayor Costello, Councilman from the 11th District, Chair of the committee. I am joined by all of our committee members today. To my left, Vice Chair of the committee, Councilman Robert Stokes, 12th District, Councilman Chris Burnett, 8th District member of the committee, Councilman Ryan Dorsey, 3rd District member of the committee. To my immediate right, Councilwoman Danny McCray, 2nd District member of the committee, Councilman Isaac Yitzi Schleifer, 5th District member of the committee, Council Vice President Sharon Green Middleton, 6th District member of the committee. We have agency reports from the Law Department. This is approved for form and legal sufficiency. Push that button in.
Yes, the Law Department approves the bill for form and legal sufficiency.
Thank you, Ms. DePietro. Department of Finance.
Good afternoon, Mara James, Assistant Budget Director of Finance, stands by its report. We do not oppose this legislation.
Thank you. And Department of Human Resources, favorable. Director Herbert, if you could please speak to this bill.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We stand by our bill report and we support this legislation.
My understanding is you have some justification for this increase?
Yes, we do.
Could you please walk us through this?
Absolutely. We considered the scope of work, the complexity of the position, the degree of decision-making that vests in the city solicitor, technical knowledge to determine the most other comparable jurisdictions. And when we do that, we look at a number of different factors. We compare ourselves not only to our surrounding Maryland jurisdictions, but we also look at what in the term is called the Amtrak cities. So we look at the Amtrak cities in the northeastern region, DC, Baltimore, Philadelphia, and New York. And then we also compare ourselves to other economically comparable cities. Cities like Milwaukee, Wisconsin, cities like Columbus, Ohio, and other economically similar cities. And we compare ourselves to them and to see how we are compensating. Also, we look at the fact that historically there has been parity between the Director of Public Works and the city solicitor position. That has historically been because those two agency head positions serve on the Board of Estimates, and there are more restrictive rules around how their salaries and when their salaries can be adjusted. And so we considered that as a factor as well. And as we looked locally around the state of Maryland with respect to city solicitor salaries, we found that our nearest neighbor in Baltimore County, that position is compensated at a rate of over $230,000 per year. That position also does not require that solicitor to serve on any budgetary committee for the county, and that city solicitor's salary can be adjusted year over year, unlike the solicitor position here in the city. We also looked at other jurisdictions here in Maryland, and most notably in Montgomery County. Again, the salary is over $230,000 in that county as well. Again, the city solicitor in Montgomery County does not sit on their financial or fiscal approval board and is not restricted to have an annual increase to their salary, as we see here in the city of Baltimore. So we not only look at local jurisdictions, but again, we looked at those Amtrak cities. We look at DC. We looked at Alexandria, which was the closest city, with a city solicitor that had a similar scope of work. And what we see is that the salary for that solicitor is over $260,000 per year. We then looked at Philadelphia, which has a lower salary of $177,000, and then New York, which is at $243,000. When we looked at Philadelphia, one of the things that we looked at was the size of the office. It's a smaller office than the office here in Baltimore City, and that office also outsources much more of their work to private law firms in that jurisdiction. We also looked at where we're losing talent. I can speak from experience as an alumnus of the law department. that we are losing talent not only to other city agencies, but to agencies like Baltimore City Public Schools, which compensates their junior attorneys at a rate of over $100,000. And what that creates is it creates compression issues within the law department, because as the law department attempts to try to retain the staff that they have, it forces those salaries to become close to that of the solicitor. And they can't go over the solicitor's salary, because it would not make sense to have a chief solicitor or a deputy solicitor that makes more than the solicitor him or herself. And so it creates real issues with retention of our legal staff in the law department. And just by way of comparison, Baltimore City Schools, their chief legal officer's salary is over $220,000. Baltimore County Public Schools, their chief legal counsel is just under $230,000. And in Prince George's County Public Schools, their chief legal counsel is over $230,000. So we looked at all of these comparator jurisdictions, both abroad and locally. We looked at where we were losing talent, and we looked at the differences in the scope of work. Our solicitor's office is one of the larger solicitor's offices, and they do a full cadre of legal work. Many of the offices that I mentioned in other jurisdictions, they have policies where they wholesale outsource their litigation work. That doesn't take place here in the city of Baltimore. We have a litigation department that handles much of the litigation that comes in through Baltimore City. And so for all of those reasons, we found that the $245,000, or in other words, restoring the parity between the city solicitor and the director of DPW was in order. It creates the opportunity for the law department to adjust the salaries of those subordinate staff, where they can do a better job of retaining the talent that we have here in the city. I think that what resounded most loudly with me is, as we looked at salaries across the city of other agency heads and other departments, other agencies, there are some agencies where we have deputies that make more than the city solicitor for the city of Baltimore. And that, to me, it resonated very loudly, and which is why we stand beside our bill report. We think that the salary is appropriate based on the study.
Thank you, Director Herbert. So in your professional opinion, this is the appropriate level for the salary for the city solicitor to be set at?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Director. Colleagues, any questions? Seeing as there are no questions, are there any members of the public who wish to testify? Seeing as there's no members of the public who wish to testify, colleagues, is there a motion to move the bill favorably?
So moved.
We had a motion by, I think, Stokes first, a second by Dorsey. Costello is a yes. Burnett? Yes. Dorsey? Yes. McCray?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes.
Schleifer? Yes. Stokes?
Yes.
This bill passes 7-0 and moves to second reader at the next meeting of the City Council. We're now in recess till 2:30 p.m.